And welcome to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Welcome to our first episode. We're excited to be here with everyone. Before we start into everything, I think it's important to get to know who all of us are. So let's just do it like we did in elementary school, go around the circle so everyone can say who they are. So let's start off with Mo. Why don't you start introducing yourself?
Hello, everybody. Mo here from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Let's just get straight to it. I've been into Star Wars and nerd shit for a little while, probably since grade school. That has developed into just enjoying the franchise and honestly, even seeing how it reflects my own personal journey through life. As I've grown, as I've gotten to experience Star Wars from different angles, different perspectives, I've come to love it in every aspect. There are things we all wish it would be different, but that's what we're here for. We're just here to talk some shit, just have a friendly conversation among friends. So with that, Gus or Nani, go for it.
Hi, I'm Nani. I'm also from Puerto Rico. I started getting into Star Wars when I was probably 10 or even younger. Our neighbors right across the street, they used to babysit for us when we were little, and they had the original trilogy recorded on VHS from the TV. So you would have to fast forward to the commercials. And I would love it regardless. Every time we went over, that's what I wanted to watch. Star Wars all the way. And, as it has evolved, I've kept up with it. And it's one of the reasons that we are still actually friends. We've known each other for a very long time, but we usually end up talking about Star Wars and having drinks. And that's probably why we're doing this now, because we're in COVID and we're locked up and we're bored. So we want to give us our perspectives on Star Wars and hope you don't hate it. Okay, go ahead, Goose.
And as everyone said, I am Goose, the host apparent of today's episode. I don't know if that will change anytime soon, but my relationship with Star Wars, I pretty much grew up with it. I don't ever really remember seeing it for the first time, but the story I always tell, and I'm sticking to it, was around 97 when like the special editions came out. I remember my dad taking me to the theater because I remember he had told me like, oh, I'm gonna go take you to see this movie that I had taken your mom when we were dating, and like I really liked it, and I think you're gonna like it too. And he took me to see those movies, and goddamn, it just blew my goddamn mind. And like it was so impactful that I like made him go straight to Blockbuster, like when Blockbuster was a thing, and made him get obviously the movies, the special editions were still in theaters, so like I made him get me the VHS original trilogy, and then when the special editions came out on VHS, I made him get me those, and it was like a love affair ever since. I went to see episode 1 in theaters in '99, and every single movie after that. Started getting into the books and whatnot when I was like in middle school and whatnot. My interest kind of lulled a little bit when getting into like high school and college, because Star Wars wasn't cool anymore. If you're gonna be a cool kid who's trying to do your own thing and hang out
it doesn't
people.
matter. It was totally cool. I left my graduation from college to go straight to the theater to watch Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, we went together to the midnight screening.
Awesome.
No, not Revenge of the Sith. I was in Boston still then.
Then I just went with your brother then.
I went straight from my college graduation, made my mom take me to the theater. She's like, why don't you want to go celebrate your college graduation? It's like, that's what I want to do. I want to go watch Revenge of the Sith.
Which is better than prom, if you're gonna be honest. It's like why go and have fun and drink when you can just sit on your ass and watch a movie? Absolutely.
Well, you can go drink and party after watching the movie.
True, but only with nerds, because the cool kids don't want to hang out with you after you.
You can be cool and a nerd at the same time. Come on.
That's exactly what we're doing.
It's an oxymoron. Exactly.
No, it's not.
Exactly.
Being a nerd is cool now.
It is.
Let's agree to disagree.
Let's agree to disagree.
But with the Disney,
with first infighting.
With it, well, not infighting. It's healthy debate. But with the but I think with the Disney acquisition, my interest in Star Wars was kind of reignited, and I got back into it like in a big way, hardcore. Uh, Especially like The Force Awakens kind of opened the floodgates in terms of like me. Like, I mean, I was all in way back when, but like in modern Goose history, The Force Awakens kind of like just made me just go all in, go into like I don't
Modern
read all
Goose history.
I don't read all the books and everything, but like I was very interested in like getting into as much as the lore as I could to this day, and like especially with The Last Jedi and having gone to Star Wars Celebration Orlando with you find people here in this podcast, kind of like reinvigorated that love and passion for it. So that's where I stand today, and hopefully everyone, the two people that are listening to this, share our excitement and our passion for it.
I love that you brought up the re-release of the original ones on the theater. That's because I grew up watching them on VHS, and then they suddenly re-released a little before I went to high school, and it was such a huge thing to watch the movies that I grew up with in the theater for the first time because I hadn't had the chance.
I actually don't know that story. So you had seen the originals before?
Yeah, I'd seen the originals. Mm-hmm.
So did you have? So this is it's not part of our list, but now I'm curious. I want to see because I know this is a contentious topic among some fans.
Yep.
How did you feel with the special editions when you saw it, having seen the originals, and it's
it was amazing to
in the glory.
It was amazing to see them for the first time, in the big screen, but I could tell that there were differences, and some of them weren't positive. Like the CGI Jabba the Hutt was horrendous.
It's still atrocious, even after it.
I do not understand why they did that. I don't know why they CGI'd so much of the things that were inherently beautiful about the original. I mean, you have Jim Henson puppets that are amazing, which again, they ruined the prequels when they CGI'd Yoda instead of using, the original puppets. Just because the technology gets better doesn't mean it looks better.
What are your thoughts on that, Mo?
To be honest, I think I've seen all of them, all the different versions. I was taken aback by just the random CGI thrown there. Like I would have been okay with like even that Jabba scene, like because in the first time you see and they talk about Jabba, but it's like who this dude is, and then when you see Return of the Jedi, you actually see Jabba. So it's almost
mystery
like
and then a payoff.
At least there's like at least they're trying to like that small CGI, like they're trying to like do the whole circle. But then there's like random like stormtroopers and just random beasts roaming
that
around
really
like on this tattoo.
Yeah,
like it's a beautiful Tatooine desert. Like you can just see and feel how real it is. You can see why Anakin hates the end, like
because it's coarse.
Of course, it gets everywhere.
because it gets everywhere, yes. Like and
but you get the idea of that desolate landscape and everything, and then they started adding just random CGI animals to it that just didn't add anything to the story whatsoever.
Exactly. If it was like something, I don't know, it just seemed like George Lucas just went like, "Oh, I can do CGI. Let's do CGI." Well, that was basically
it. He was just like, "Oh, the technology that I wanted didn't exist back then, so now that it exists, let's just add everything possible to make it shinier." And that doesn't necessarily make something better.
I mean, I have a similar opinion, but like I cut George Lucas some slack on some things because I mean, obviously, the first version I saw were the special editions, and then I saw the originals on VHS. So like, I grew up mostly watching the changes in the movies, and I mean, obviously, I support the whole release, the original cut of the films movement. But like, I for the most part don't hate most of the special edition changes. I think that there are some that are like really egregious that kind of get in the way of like the storytelling. But like for some things, I think like they were appropriate changes that I think improve the film to a degree. So like I'm not 100% in the in the team of just like hating the special editions. I think
No, I don't hate them.
it's some really
There's
good
just
things.
certain things that just I think it's not that I hate them. It's just that I think some of the changes were completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And
that dance number at Jabba's palace.
that dance number, come on, yeah. But on the positive note, yeah, when you see the Death Star explode, it's way better because in the original you get like a little sparklers and then that's it, and you don't really get that, explosion. But otherwise, there were a lot of things that were a little, I don't know. One of the things that actually bothered me the most was the Yeti in Hoth.
Nani, if you're gonna be in a Star Wars podcast, it's time to start talk properly. It's not a Yeti.
Fine.
It's a
Fine. Okay. Edit it out. The Wampa.
No, we won't edit it out. Your mistakes will live in infamy.
Fine. My mistakes will live in infamy. That's okay.
The Jedi
Wampa. I mean, it is a
Whatever.
Yeti, but
Anyway,
is correct Star Wars.
The original scene is way better because you only get like little glimpses of him. So you fill it with your imagination, it's actually scarier. And then in the re-release, when they actually show him fully, it kind of loses some of the original thrill of the scene.
I can see that.
If it's, if the first version you saw was the re-release, you didn't see the original one.
I mean.
So I don't know. Once you saw him completely just kind of standing there, it kind of becomes less scary than when you have, it's some of the old, Hitchcock style of doing films that you don't necessarily show everything. Just, the music and the shadows and everything has a little bit more to do with it than showing everything.
Well, if there's one thing we've learned about George Lucas with the prequels is that he's not a nuanced filmmaker.
Yeah.
He likes to beat you over the head with whatever he wants to show you. But
there's no subtlety at all.
But I think that's something we will get into in more detail on a future episode if we get to episode hopefully. But let's keep going with like our relationships that we have like with Star Wars. We already talked about like how all of us kind of grew up with it and like our relationship with each other with it. We mentioned that all of us went together to Star Wars Celebration Orlando. But like currently, like what is our current relationship? Like how do we consume Star Wars today? I think what's interesting about like our podcast is like the three of us have like very different perspectives, not only into like how we get Star Wars, but also how we approach it today. So I think that's something that's going to make for some lively conversations because like we consume Star Wars and Star Wars media, not just the films, but all the different media in different ways. And some of us haven't seen some things that like other people would say that's like the most important things to watch. So I don't want to. I'm not gonna out anybody. People are gonna out them. People are gonna out themselves. So let's go like in the same order that we were doing before, and let's just start with Mo. Mo, what's your current Star Wars consumption?
I think honestly, how Star Wars has changed now on modern day Mo, apart from just being great films to grow up with. I'm now just being more and more intrigued on the mythological aspects of Star Wars. How there's an underlying sense of a personal spirituality. There's also an underlying sense of how can we grow up as people, as individuals on societies that might be repressed, might be under empire, they might be under just chaotic reigns, which reflects a lot on what things we're facing on our day-to-day lives. So it's almost like to me, Star Wars has now become more of a transcendent kind of films and episodes, not only on that sense, but also on a personal basis, like just watching Clone Wars and even what I call like the life lessons, which is like just the first phrasings like if you frame each episode within that like teaching or aspect, you actually get to learn a lot. Like it's to me it has become more of a mirror into my inner self, and that's how I consume Star Wars now. That's I still love like like all the characters. I still love all the chips, everything that's related. But there's something that calls to me that transcends just being a film, just being something you just consume, like other shows on Netflix or Disney or whatever media we choose to go for. So I don't know. It could be just in a reflection of how I've just been growing, but that's how I see Star Wars on the modern day Mo, and just the aspect of seeing how it unites so many people, like just being at the conventions, just seeing the love for something
And the
that
hate.
is so
And the hate.
and the hate. Oh, no, but that's what the movies also teach us, that love and hate are just the same side of the same coin, just as the Jedi and the Sith, the dark and the light side of the Force.
You can't
like
really have
everything
one
is
without the other.
just yeah, you can't have one without the other. There has to be a balance, and that is the beauty of
Hate,
like Star
hate
Wars.
leads to
Like
suffering.
yes, if you learn that through hate, you're also like hating on yourself. Like I guess we can just talk about that on a later thing. But like I think one of my favorite characters to me was Asajj Ventress. You have a character who begins and starts her life through hate, and it's through that hate that she eventually just, you know what, I can't, this is not the real path even for a Sith. Like you just have to abandon that hate. You also have to abandon that attachment, the strong attachment to things. It's like through hate you can get to balance.
But her story is actually
if you're
even
open.
more interesting. I don't know if you guys have read Dark Disciple. I haven't gone through it yet, but I've read some of the plot points of it. But like that story goes into Asajj and like her relationship with Quinlan Voss, who is also like he's in a way like he's the opposite of Asajj Ventress in that sense, but on the light, and like that like dynamic that they have, and like how they kind of find their paths together, and like it's interesting in what you're saying. Obviously, I don't want to go too deep into it because we'll talk about those things in a future episode. But I think that's interesting, like how you're using Asajj Ventress. I wasn't expecting that one. That's a good example.
Oh, I absolutely. I love a lot of characters, but to me, this will be come up later, but on a very very personal level, Asajj Ventress, I become really identified with that character.
Especially with what she went through with the Night Sisters and everything.
Especially those things. It really opened up my heart and my mind to aspects that I was not aware of about my own life, and that's from that point on, like Star Wars has just become like an integral part of just being not only something I consume just because I might be bored, I want to watch something cool. It's actually something I can always relate back to, and you can see that in the fans, like people really identify with it, and that's just, to me, it's fascinating.
Interesting. That's a way deeper answer than like I was expecting, which is fantastic. It's really good. But
I went deep.
Well, this is what the channel's for, right? We're gonna do some deep dives into some stuff. So like, stay around, guys. If you're interested, we're gonna have some really cool deep dives. But like, it's gonna tie this back together with like our relationship with it, not just in that metaphysical sense that you're talking about. Mo, what Star Wars are you consuming now? Besides, obviously, you've seen all the movies. Do you read any of the books or watch the TV shows, comic books, etc.? What have you? How do you keep current with Star Wars?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the 100% nerd I should be.
There's no should be in Star Wars. Everyone
there's no shame
consumes
there.
things the way that they want to. Except Nani.
Like,
We'll get to it.
except Nani. We'll get to that.
Of course, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I think the one I have enjoyed the most, just because I just really loved the story and everything, was Rebels. To me, Rebels was just this whole opening of not only what the Force is and how little we actually know what the Force is about, which gets reflected
Not about
in The Last
midichlorians.
Jedi. Like,
not about midichlorians. Oh God.
But for like deeper lore, to me, it's just Wikipedia. Honestly, like it's
a fantastic source, and lots of and this is going to be a little dig. You got to start making enemies, I guess. Lots of YouTubers and whatnot, like all their stuff is just regurgitating Wikipedia. Just like, hey man, I want to
absolutely.
read about
get new ideas.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's talk about themes and stuff. Let's not just like read something off a page. Anyway, that's my aside.
But
how about you, Nani? You're
also,
the most.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't realize you weren't.
No, I was just.
Go Mo.
No, I was just gonna finish by saying that I also just enjoyed like going on like Reddit and like seeing like both sides of the spectrum, like the hardcore, like this is how Star Wars should be, versus like
saltier than Crate.
Enjoy. Yes, saltier than Crate versus like, we're all let's all be family and friends and be very positive about. So it's also like you can see both sides of that, the hatred and the love for the franchise. So that's how I like to conclude my remarks.
That's a fantastic answer. Went to like a deep dive, like we really deep. Like which is what we want. But the person that I was really most interested to have their answer on was our illustrious co-host here, Nani. Nani, tell us please what your relationship to Star Wars is. How do you feel about it, and what movies, TV shows, etc. do you watch or not watch? That's the most important.
I know you're baiting me. I can see it. I
have no agenda. I have no agenda.
I am probably the worst one at keeping up with the current stuff. I never read any of the extended universe. I love all the movies, the prequels. I hate, but I still accept them. And there are parts that I love about them.
You only hate Attack of Thrones.
I have some issues with all of them.
Well, I have some issues with
we can get into that. We can get into that later.
Oh, we stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But I've always loved the movies regardless. I've read some of the newer books. I've read the Ahsoka book. I've read the Aftermath trilogy, which was really fun actually.
I didn't realize that. I thought for some reason in my mind I thought you hadn't read any of the books.
Yeah. The newer stuff, because Okay. I haven't read Thrawn, which I know that you're a big fan of.
I am a fan of Thrawn.
I should probably. Yeah.
Chaos Rising. Coming out soon.
Yeah, you told me. So I'll probably read that one when it comes out. I have not watched any of the animated shows.
Why don't you tell our guests why?
I have tried to watch Clone Wars on multiple occasions, but it bores me. I do not like the animation. It's blocky. I hate Padme. I hate Jar Jar. There's so many fillers. I don't know. It just annoys the crap out of me. I've been told that they get better as they go, that the last season is amazing and I have to watch it, but I found it really hard to get into. And you have to watch it before you watch Rebels, which I've heard Rebels is actually even better.
You don't need to. It just enhances Rebels.
Yeah. And I know I have suffered for it because I did watch The Mandalorian. Loved The Mandalorian, by the way. Way much more than I was ever expecting from it, honestly. I watched it way later, like way after all the hype and all the memes were coming out, and I thought
you didn't have Disney Plus.
because I didn't have Disney Plus. And I thought it was completely overhyped, and I was like, there's no way it's that good. So after all the hype died down, I got Disney Plus and watched it in like a day and thought it was amazing. And I lost a lot of it because I didn't know about the mythos of Mandalore.
So
from
you
the
saw
animated show. So
you
I
saw the
admit
dark
that
saber, and you were like, "What the fuck is a dark saber?"
Yeah, and I was like, what's happening? And it's like, well, if you would have watched Rebels,
You would
you
know.
would have an idea, and you would understand why is it's so important to them for the suit and not show their faces, and you know, the whole myth of Mandalore that I had no idea was that complicated or interesting, which I found fantastic. The whole myth of Mandalore. So I will have to watch it. I will get over my hating the animation, and I will watch it.
So is that like one of the in our first episode we can make like one of the promises to our viewers?
The promises to the
Nani,
viewers that I'm gonna watch.
Nani's going to commit to watching the Clone Wars and Rebels. Maybe not Resistance. We can talk about Resistance and how it sucks, but at least Clone Wars and Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a commitment. That's what I want to hear.
Commitment then. Fine.
So
You heard it here first, guys. A Force Triad of the Force exclusive. Nani will watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. They should be on Fandom and IGN as like top news. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. They should get we should get all those clicks now and all those views. Everyone's expecting this. All 58 of our followers on Twitter have been asking, when will Nani watch this? It's been years, and it's gonna happen.
Years. Yep.
Quite literally.
Yep. It's terrible. I know. I feel like an awful fan for not watching them.
No, I wouldn't. Well, I only say you're awful because that's what our relationship is based on. But no,
that I'm awful.
Exactly.
Our relationship is based on the fact that I'm awful.
But it's all playful. It's all in good fun. And there's no there's no right way to be a Star Wars fan. You like what you like. If you only like the movies, that's cool. If you only like the books, that's cool too. We're here in a egalitarian manner. Everyone's welcome.
Which goes to you, Goose. Goes back to you and how you have been absorbing it.
I absorb it in a more obsessive way. I mean, I will say upfront, I don't read everything that comes out, but I do like to at least keep up to date with everything that is out. Kind of to circle back to when I was like more into Star Wars when I was like in middle school and whatnot. I read some of the EU stuff. Like as most people probably, I started with the Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, and all those books, and that blew my goddamn mind. So I was like, oh my God, there's more Star Wars, and it's actually good after Return of the Jedi, and like there's more characters, and like this is like amazing. Like those Timothy Zahn books like really kind of set the bar for me on like Star Wars storytelling post Return of the Jedi. So like I didn't read all of the what is now called the EU, I guess. But like I read those. I read the Jedi Academy trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson, Darksaber. So I read some books. I wasn't like super into reading everything, but like I did dip my toes into that ocean that is the EU lore. But now in the Disney era, as everyone calls it rightly so, like I do try to read like most of the novels that come out. I usually skip some of the YA stuff for reasons. I have no legitimate reason to not read YA Star Wars books. I just don't. But you know, I focused on the Timothy Zahn books that have come out now. The
book was cool.
Well, you said it, not me. Timothy Zahn.
I love his explanation.
Hey, come on, the truth is the truth. It's the truth. The only comics I've read are the Rise of Kylo Ren, just because, as we'll talk in a future episode. Kylo Ren is one of the best goddamn Star Wars characters that have ever been committed.
I gotta agree. Love Kylo Ren.
Fact.
We'll get into why he's awesome later and how they did him dirty in the Rise of Skywalker. But
don't get me started.
No, not today. Not today. It is not that day.
It is not that day.
It is not that day. Obviously, I watched a lot of the Clone Wars and Rebels, and I'm currently going through a Rebels rewatch. Saw Resistance. Resistance didn't do it for me, but whatever. It's fine. I'm not the target demographic for that show, I guess. But I like to keep as current as I can with like most of the media that comes out. So I mean, especially during quarantine, there's nothing else to do, so I might as well read and watch some stuff that I'm like really into. But that is my experience with Star Wars so far, and obviously, like ever since going to Star Wars Celebration Orlando with you guys, that's kind of like opened up the floodgates in terms of like trying to keep current, like with not only the lore but the fandom, because I think that was a really positive experience for me. I don't know about you guys. Maybe we should touch on it like a little bit, because I don't know, for me Celebration was very transformative, because I had never been to a convention. So we flew out from Puerto Rico to Orlando for that one, and it was just such a great experience that we were not prepared for. And
we were not. We had no idea what the fandom was really like. We were just amateur hour.
We had no idea. We still don't know
wallowing around. Yeah. And
but
it was still great.
It was so much fun.
And it was still great.
And then Mo and I went to Celebration Chicago, and that was even better. And hopefully next year, if COVID ever ends, we can go to Anaheim. But like that side of the of Star Wars, which is the fandom through the convention, has been such a positive experience for me. That's just like kind of ties everything up with like a nice bow, because it means that like Star Wars doesn't just live in a TV screen or a page of a book. It's like something that's real and tangible, and it's just not limited to like. Yep.
Well, and it's actually really fun to see people really obsessed about things that you would think are minor in the fandom, and then see people that are totally obsessed with just the minor aspect of something is so cool.
Or
instead
like
of
it.
Just,
Or like it like in a different way.
Yeah, or just being obsessed with the whole thing as an entirety, because it isn't. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of it, and you can hate some aspects of it without it taking away from the whole. Which I think.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, which is, it's kind of my issue with the fandom menace, that they take one issue with something and it turns into just massive hatred. You can hate certain aspects of it without taking away from the whole. I mean, this is years and years and years, and a lot of media in the process. There's no way they can get it perfect every time. Yeah. And we need to be able to accept that as fans.
I mean, hate is a powerful.
Because you. No. I
was just gonna say that like hate is like a powerful word, and like to kind of dovetail into the shots Nani fired at the fandom menace. I guess they're not watching our video. It's not like.
Or maybe they are, and they're gonna be bashing us for
life. There we go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment and a 5-star rating. Anyway, but like it's this whole thing where like if you're like passion for the thing that you allegedly love, it just becomes like hate towards it, and like trying to take other people's enjoyment for stuff that you don't like out of it. And it's just like, what's your goal? It's like we're all here to like the things that we like, and like I think it's great that people like different parts of it that I might not like, but I think it's really cool that some people see something in a different light to how I see it, and if they enjoy it, more power to them. It's we're here to enjoy our fandom,
and the vice versa. If like sometimes you might not like something, but then all of a sudden you find a fan that just changes your perspective from that.
That's really good
and
too.
Then all of a sudden it's like you're that. I think that's like goes back to that whole like what we saw in the convention. Like sometimes like what Nani was saying, what Gus is saying, like you had, maybe I did not pay attention to this specific fact or whatever character, and then all of a sudden you see like, oh wow, like a bunch of other people just love this, or vice versa. Maybe I thought I was the only one that liked something, and then it's like you just get identified with a whole new, like it becomes almost like more than just fans. It's almost like acquaintances and friends and family, and that's how I saw like the conventions. Everybody was just open about it, so
which was kind of like the improvement in my experience. I don't know if Mo, you share this with me, but like I remember when we went to Orlando, like we were very insular and like how we were working. It was just like the five of us, because we were there with two more friends.
Yeah, because we didn't know.
We did exactly. We didn't know, so it was basically like the five of us, and we were very insular, so we didn't really interact with other fans
as much as we should have, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And like at least in Chicago, Mo and I kind of, I mean, we're not the most outgoing. At least I am. I don't know what you know. I'm not the most outgoing person in terms of just like meeting strangers and whatnot. But like after being in Orlando and seeing like that fandom, like for Chicago, I kind of tried to make that effort to be like, okay, I'm here to meet new people and like have new experiences and talk to fans and just like enjoy their joy for this fandom. And it was really positive experience. It was just like really cool to connect to other people that you might never see again, or you might, and it enhances the experience all the more. It was like so good to break out of like that comfort zone of like the people that you know you're comfortable with, talk about Star Wars, and like just be comforted to know that there's this whole army of people that are there to support you and just be positive and share the same things you share.
Yep. Oh, I absolutely agree. I think, Nani, if you ever join us on our next adventure to the conventions, you're gonna see that. Like,
we
it's
were actually talking
like,
about, if COVID free, we were talking about joining you guys again.
So. We will be a featured podcaster at Celebration. if everyone likes and subscribes,
make it happen.
To our two listeners, just listen to this podcast like 100 times.
Our two listeners.
Send it to your mom. Make it 3, and then maybe your stepdad or something. And it's like let's get this ball rolling.
Oh my god.
But to kind of like wrap ourselves up, let's talk a little bit about like the podcast and some of the goals that we want to establish for it going forward. Obviously, as everyone can probably tell from like our previous conversations, we really want to go down the rabbit hole and like discuss some of the issues that like are more pertinent to us in terms of like the Star Wars lore and whatnot. Obviously, we want to discuss the fandom because we're passionate about sharing what we like. But like we already have like a couple of topics that we would like to discuss in the future, which are, as opposed to like some other podcasts and YouTube channels where they kind of talk about the news and rumors and everything that's going on in the Star Wars world. I think there's a lot of those already. So like, we don't think we have anything to contribute in that perspective. So our goal here is really like to go into the deep dives of some of the themes and objectives that are happening in the Star Wars world, both past and present. So obviously we're going to do some deep dives into the movies that have been released, some of the books, but also the concepts and some like social issues that are like pertinent to the three of us that are like either represented or not represented enough in Star Wars. So I'm not going to go into some of the topics that we have listed here because we want you to be surprised when we announce them and hopefully tune in. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be some lively discussion, hopefully, because hopefully the three of us will have like some very interesting perspectives on some of the topics that we will be touching. I don't know if anyone else has something to add to that before moving on.
Yeah, no, and I think we will also discuss, what we expect from the Star Wars universe from now on, what we want to see going forward, where we want it to go. So
or not see.
Or not see, yeah. So there's a lot of topics that we can discuss without necessarily just relying on all the rumors and everything. Do we want to go into the subject before we know everybody else, all our rankings of the original films?
Is that what we're going to do?
I think we should get it right out of the bat at the beginning, because that is always a sore subject for somebody.
Well, let's do it. So as everyone probably knows, around the Twitterverse, there was this, I forget who made it or what the website was. So if someone remembers and wants to correct me, please, after you give us a 5-star review, please comment below and tell us where it was from. Obviously, all three of us are drinking, so like that inhibits our memory a little bit, but like all three of us took the quiz to establish what our Star Wars rankings were prior to the podcast, obviously. And it was interesting, all the results that we got. I don't know if we necessarily agreed with the results we got from there, but like I think it's gonna be fun to like see where all three of us stand based on that quiz, and then have a discussion of each of those movies and where they stand, and if we agree with each other's results. So why don't we start with Mo's ranking? Mo, what is your top movie for the Star Wars films so far?
I'm gonna say it just right off the bat. To me, not only the ranking, but on every level, the best film out there, it is The Last Jedi. I don't care about how everybody else sees it. I know there's a lot of hatred to it. There are people that love it. It's just all the whole spectrum. But I have to say, The Last Jedi is the best movie. It not only focuses on a great story of how each different character develops, but you actually get to see, which ties back to Rebels, the true nature of the Force. We don't know what the Force is, yet it is all around us, yet it involves every single aspect of our lives. That's why I love The Last Jedi. And it's going to be my number one. But in my heart, I will say the very close second, but before The Last Jedi, Empire Strikes Back will have been the top spot. You get a movie and a story where the good guys are not the winners. You get a whole, and I hope this is not a spoiler to anybody, but at this time, if you do not know that,
at this point, if you don't
Darth
know,
Vader,
yep.
yeah,
Spoiler alert.
It's spoiler alert, but it's on you. But if you do not know that whole turning point of the person I hate the most, or the idea I'm against, turns out to be on a familiar basis who you're supposed to love, who you're supposed to root for. That's just on every level. It's just mind blowing. So I'm gonna have to say those are my first two, and then on a third, A New Hope, just because it introduces it's between A New Hope and Rogue One, to be honest.
Really?
Rogue One, yeah. I'm gonna, and I might actually give it to Rogue One.
Really?
For the third spot, because on one single movie, you get an amazing cast. You actually get the whole emotional spectrum, from just getting this ragtag team to just at the end, you get, at least every time I watch it, I just get goosebumps seeing that ending when Jyn Erso and, oh my God, you see this?
This is what happens when we have drinks. Yep.
That's what happened when you have drinks. You start forgetting
characters' names.
Yes, that ending word. In fact,
and you start calling the Wampa Jedi.
A Jedi.
A Yeti. Yeah.
A Yeti.
A Yeti. Yeah, I know. It's awesome. Yeah, because we're not nervous at all. So.
We're not at all. No. We're totally natural.
We're totally natural, and we know all the characters and everything. Yep.
And one thing I loved about, and still the best scene out there, it's just the ending. You see Darth Vader on.
Oh yeah, they gave
the most.
Yep.
Like I was just like, when I saw it in the theaters, when I saw it again.
Yeah.
And rewatch it, it's just the best scene that has ever come out in a Star Wars film.
Honestly, after what they did to the character of Darth Vader in the prequels, that they kind of, sorry for my language, made him a pussy. Then you get that scene at the end of, you get that scene at the end of Rogue One, and it's like, that's the Darth Vader I've always wanted to see.
It was like, wait, it's like I didn't know this, but I need
Yeah,
Darth
I
Vader
didn't know I
horror
needed
movie.
it, but I did. I mean, I saw that scene and all my hair stood up in my arms, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That was insane. It was just
Plus Vader puns. Lots of people
plus
hated the puns,
obviously plus
but
Vader.
I loved all those puns.
Yeah, but
All the
I mean,
puns
Rogue
were
One
on
was
point.
great. Rogue One was amazing.
Even though some
But-
people like to say, and they shall remain unnamed, but some people say it was an unnecessary movie. But
Yep.
I disagree. It was.
I disagree. I really enjoyed it.
Totally. And not only that, you watch it and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, I want to watch A New Hope right
Again,
after that.
yeah, I want to watch it.
Like,
Yeah, right after.
like
It makes
right
you
after. It's
love
such a
the original
perfect-
trilogy all that much. You want to see the continuation of it.
Yes.
Because
yes.
it was a
yes,
very
because-
good way of doing it was what we needed from the prequels, which we didn't get.
Yes.
We kind of wanted to see how they got to that point, and then we get the story of it, but they were honestly just so badly executed that you were wanting so much. And then you actually get Rogue One, which it's right before A New Hope. And then you end it and you're like, I want to watch A New Hope all over again. Just because, we got
absolutely.
to that point.
And then you frame A New Hope on that powerful destruction that the Empire is now. Because you're right, we just on the prequels you just see the Empire rising. And then on the original theory, the Empire is already in place. But it was like the first time when you actually see the Empire's power and how menacing it is to every aspect of it. Like, I think it's a wonderfully made movie. The casting was amazing. You see Force users that are not Jedi or Sith. You actually see people that just are in tune with the Force, and it actually just starts expanding on
the mythos of all the use
the
of the
mythos
Force.
of
That it
everything
doesn't
that is Star
necessarily
Wars.
have to be Jedi Sith. It can be way more than that.
Yes, exactly.
As we eventually see with Ahsoka.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
That was your
Absolutely.
number 4, right?
And that
for me,
well,
Oh, that's good. Let's finish Mo's list first. Or
well,
did you start?
Mo said it might have been above A New Hope for him. Like he's still debating that one.
Okay, so how about this? Let's just do our top 3, and then we'll do our least the last 3, and then we'll talk about the middle.
Okay.
Because the middle is where the gray areas happen.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm gonna conclude that my top 3 are as follows: number 1, The Last Jedi; number 2, Empire Strikes Back; and number 3, Rogue One.
Okay.
You changed it.
That's my
Rogue
official
One.
top 3.
Okay.
Yes. After this conversation, I
you have been
say
converted.
that I have been converted that Rogue One is on my top 3.
Okay, so that's what we want
The
to.
Last Jedi, Empire, Rogue
That's
One.
what we're gonna do. Okay, so
That's most.
so we're
Top
gonna
3.
discuss our top 3 first, then our bottom 3, and then our middle 5. Wait, we should do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we should do middle 5 before the bottom 3, because I think bottom 3 we're really gonna get into it.
Okay. Well,
But maybe the bottom 3 will be we might agree.
I
don't know.
think
Okay.
the bottom 3 we're going to be
You're right.
close to agreeing.
Okay, let's see. Okay, Nani, what was your top 3 then?
Okay, my top 3 is Empire, then The Last Jedi, and A New Hope. Those are my top 3. Goose, I'm pretty sure yours were the same.
But why? Why?
So, as I said
I want to know
before,
why Nani's top 3.
why Nani's top 3? Okay, as I already said, it's very hard for me to break from the original 3. I love them, grew up with them. There's just this nostalgia about them. Every time I watch them, they make me smile like an idiot. I mean, even the Ewoks, which are ridiculous, I still kind of love. But Empire was just, how you said, it's one of those movies, and especially back then, you never see the bad guys win. And Empire is the first time that you're just surprised. You expect something else at the end, and it's like, no, they lost. The Empire won in this movie. And then obviously, again, spoiler alert, what better spoiler has there ever been than, I mean, Darth Vader.
Watch out,
is
kids, watch out.
Anakin
Earmuffs.
Skywalker. Come on. You never expect that. I mean, when I was a kid, I was just, the first time I saw it, I was like, what?
Not even George Lucas expected it, so.
I thought there's something so amazing about that movie, and Luke, and you know, you see his relationship with Yoda for the first time, and the fact that Luke is actually a little brat as well, and
here we go.
you know, and yeah, and you know, everything, and the beginning, I love the Battle of Hoth. That movie beginning to end is, to me, the most comprehensive of all of them. Like beginning to end, entertaining completely throughout. I love The Last Jedi because The Last Jedi is the other one that is way more forward moving of any of their trilogies. Like you have the Empire moves that trilogy forward, and The Last Jedi moves the later trilogy forward. And you have really amazing character development. It does a great thing for the entire series because it tries to start to deviate from just the general story and push it somewhere else. And it was fantastic storytelling. They have some amazing lightsaber fights, of course. One of my favorite ones, actually. Fight. Yeah, it's debatable because as much as I do not like the Phantom Menace that much, the lightsaber fight with Mace Windu and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul is kind of amazing. I just said Mace Windu instead of I screwed up. I know. I totally screwed up. I understand that now. I missed that fight. Yeah.
I'm adding that to the list. Lightsaber battles. That's a good episode.
Screw-ups that Nani does.
Yeah. No. Of like topics we should have. Lightsaber battles. That's good because I've seen some like contentious Twitter opinions about which is the best lightsaber battle that I absolutely do not agree with. So that's a good one.
Oh, you don't like the Phantom Menace one?
No, I do. But some people like to claim the Revenge of the Sith has the best lightsaber fight.
Oh no, I hate the Revenge of the Sith fight. I hate it. It's too CGI.
Anyway, that's for another episode.
Anyway, okay, sorry. Yeah. But that's why I love The Last Jedi as well. But why I don't think it beats Empire. There was some stuff in the middle that was kind of, I don't know, boring.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some of the middle stuff was a little boring. I'm not gonna get into details, obviously. And then A New Hope. Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that eventually. And then A New Hope. A New Hope is just, it's A New Hope. It's
A New Hope.
I love Alec Guinness, and it will always be the first one. Without A New Hope, you don't really have any of the other ones. And there's something that I really love about that. It's so innocent. I mean, Luke in that one is just, he looks 13 and just this new kid with the new world opening up completely in front of him. And he actually manages it pretty well considering all the crazy things that happen around him. And then you get all the introductions of these big characters, Han Solo, that you didn't need the explanation of where he comes from. Him being there was more than enough because he's awesome. And then, you introduce basically the entire cast and, the Leia plea, through R2-D2 is always going to be amazing. And there's something amazing about A New Hope always. And so that's my top 3.
I think that's great. The only problem with it is that I think it's a boring conversation now because I think the 3 of us have the same top 3. Because my top movie, and this was kind of like, I'll stick to it because I still need to see how the number 2 on my list ages as time goes by. But like my number 1 will definitely be Empire. Strikes Back. I remember growing up, Return of the Jedi was my favorite fucking movie of all time. It's like that space battle and like it was such good eye candy growing up that like
Yes,
that was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is amazing. There's no way that Star Wars can get any better than this. But as I started maturing and and getting a better taste for
modern day Goose.
well, not even because it was still like high school, and like how mature can you be in high school? But like you start getting into like different types of movies and whatnot, and seeing like how different films approach similar topics and whatnot, and like understanding more about cinematography and script writing and acting and plot development and all that stuff. And I started like realizing like, oh my God, there's something here in Empire Strikes Back that's actually a better movie, just period. I mean, because it's basically a flawless movie if you don't go into like the nerd nitty gritty of like, oh, there's a plot hole because Luke looked like he was months in Dagobah, but like they were days in Bespin. It's like, oh my God, these space wizards and hyperspace, that's impossible. It's like, stop it. And it's like, stop. So once you just ignore all those stupid plot points and just focus like on the story as a Joseph Campbell myth, it's mind blowing. And it was the first one. This Last Jedi did it, and I think it did it perfectly too. But like, Empire has matured in 30 years and has still kept up that candle of like the best sequel of all time.
40 years.
40, oh, right. Yeah. It's the anniversary this year. 40 years. Best movie sequel of all time.
And
probably,
it holds up.
Probably tied with The Godfather Part 2. So
don't get me started because I actually like Godfather Part 1 better.
That's another
episode. I agree with Nani.
Yep.
Godfather Part 1 is better.
I like Godfather Part 1 better.
Well, it's okay to be wrong, but
you got me.
I got your back, Nani.
Yeah.
I got your back.
We'll go into number 2, as people could probably tell from my review of Empire, is The Last Jedi. And I will preface this by saying that when I went into Last Jedi in the movie theater, the Thursday screening, I enjoyed the film, watching it, but I did come out a little disappointed. And that was
really the first time.
The first time I was like a little like, it was good, but that's the problem. Like, I wanted something, and I didn't get that. I was selfish about the movie. So when I saw it,
yeah, I remember you had a million theories about what was going to happen.
Yeah, I was like, well, Luke's going to show up, and he's going to whip out his cock, and this is going to be amazing, and it's just going to...
Oh my God, you just went way worse than I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's already going to be explicit. It's already going to be explicit on Apple. Let's just be frank here. But I had those expectations of like what the movie needed to be for me, and looking at it selfishly, I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably would have on the first go if I had just come in with a blank slate. But like after rewatching The Last Jedi more and more, it's just like every time I watch it, I just love it even more.
It's so good.
The themes are just like right there. The cinematography is beautiful. The acting is amazing. The script writing,
character development, everything.
It was on par right there for me with Empire Strikes Back. It's been aging like fine wine ever since it came out in theaters, and it just keeps improving. The only reason I have Empire first is because it's got a couple years.
It's
on
a couple decades.
Yeah, so
couple decades.
we'll do
decades.
We'll do a deep dive into Last Jedi. Because there's a lot to digest in that movie.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opinions on the fandom as well.
Oh, are there? Oh my God.
Yep.
But then number 3, and I concur with Nani, obviously, and Mo on this one, is A New Hope. It's the original. It started everything. It's the Joseph Campbell myth at its best. It's a Western. It's everything. It's the reinvigorated genre. It's
pirates in space.
It's pirates in space with wizards. And like, hey, don't think about it. It's binary. It's like good versus evil, and that's it. It's such a good movie. Established what a blockbuster is in modern day. It's like you can't beat that movie. It's just rewatch it, and it holds up. Doesn't matter which version you watch. Yeah, doesn't matter if you watch the original or the special edition. It's just a solid movie. There's no flaws. Tell me a flaw in that movie. You can't really get to one unless you're one of those prequel fanboys that like to nitpick the original so you can be trendy.
You said I was hating on the fandom, and you're hating more than I am.
You got the ball rolling, man. You gotta keep up.
I got the ball rolling. Okay, so then just let's do our top 3. That was it. Let's do our bottom
Bottom
3.
3. Mo?
Well, let's see. Let me pull out my phone because definitely the mezcal is taking its effect right now. And okay, so my bottom 3. Let's start with the worst offender.
Oh, so you're going bottom up.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bottom up. It has to be Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry, it's just
Oh.
like, which is weird because when I saw it for the first time on theaters,
I
was
loved
like,
it.
mind blown. I was like, ooh,
Yep.
so cool. I loved it. Yes. I was like,
Really? I
was
hated
like-
it from the beginning.
Oh, no, I loved it when I saw it.
I
Oda
hated
finding
it.
the lightsaber? Oh.
Yeah, the first time I saw it as a kid, I was like, boom, this is an amazing movie. There's like lightsabers, there's like a whole craziness going on. Like Yoda pulls out a saber. Like it was just, whoa, this is like the best movie. But as it ages, it just becomes worse and worse with it.
God, I hated
Like
it from
it's
the
almost
beginning.
hard.
I hated it from the beginning.
You
I'm older,
that's a good
yes.
thing.
I'm older, yes.
you saw. I did not say it. I didn't say it.
I'm not gonna say it either.
But
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm. Yes,
But
older.
as,
Mhm.
but as my viewpoints have matured, and it just doesn't hold up, honestly. Like there's the interactions between the characters are bad.
They make no
The
sense.
whole story, exactly. Like
Yeah,
the
it makes no
dialogue
sense.
was just.
I mean, you always knew.
Like,
You
who
always
put
knew
this
there was
up?
like this epic love story between Anakin and Padme, and then the conversations are just so blah, and there's
Oh.
no chemistry between
The
the characters.
conversations are
We'll get there.
Horrible.
exactly. It's like
They're just horrible. They make
it's
no
like- it's like a-
sense.
they don't. It's almost
hurts.
like
It actually
a
hurts.
love story written by a 10-year-old. Like if
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a person
yeah.
watch
George
it.
Lucas hasn't
Yeah.
talked to a person in I don't know how many years.
Yeah, because he apparently doesn't know anything about human interaction.
Yeah, it was weird. It's just a weird movie. Like,
It's so
why
bad.
do we need like a pear floating through to like?
Because it's romantic.
Like,
Don't you want someone to shove a
It
pear
was
in your
not.
mouth
It was
with the force?
terrible.
Like, here you go, pear in your mouth.
No, no,
Take
it
a
was
pic.
so bad. And explain
No,
to
it's-
me
it's-
the fight at the Colosseum. How do you destroy that many Jedis in one fight from like one blaster shot?
Don't
Explain
make
that
me.
to me.
Don't
They were
make,
actual Jedi.
don't make me defend Attack of the Clones. It's just
Okay.
sheer numbers. It's sheer numbers.
Yeah.
It's sheer numbers.
You're
it's
pumping
numbers.
out
It's just
thousands of
numbers.
battle droids. It's like, and there weren't that many Jedi there to begin with because they,
No,
they
but it was
couldn't get
terrible.
that
But
many.
some of them you see them get killed literally from like one blaster.
Well, I want to see you take a blaster to the chest. See how you take.
They're trained Jedi. Come on.
Well, again, numbers. They can all do anyway. Mo, number 10.
Okay.
Number 10. So I think we all know what's our bottom 11. So
Actually, we
number
might,
10.
We might have some disagreement. Let's see.
We might have some this. Okay. Let's see. Number 10. I'm gonna say Solo, just
Some
because
disagreement.
I don't know.
That was
didn't
my
need
last
that-
one. I think
like,
Solo's
we didn't-
actually worse than Attack of the Clones.
We'll get to you, Nani. We'll
But-
get
but-
to you.
but-
Fine.
But you see at least Solo to me it's like maybe like a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
a
entertaining.
totally average
You can
movie.
watch it. Like it's an average movie. It's not, but it's not horrible.
It's not bad. It's just like, it's okay.
It's not a. It's just like, like.
I gotta be honest, I actually expected
even
worse
without-
from Solo. I did expect it to be worse. I have to admit that. I expected it to be worse. But
Well,
it was completely unnecessary.
and-
I really don't need Han Solo's background at all.
And that'll be an episode. Stay tuned.
Okay, so let's leave it at that. Everybody agrees that Solo's down there.
Will Solo have a second part?
I
get to
Well,
that.
that's gonna be an episode.
And
That's
then,
okay.
So wait, so now I'm confused. Mo, so was your number 10 Rise or Solo?
no. So my number 10 is Solo. My number 9
Oh, okay,
is Rice.
Interesting.
And
I thought the way you were
Right.
talking, the way you were talking, you had to invert it because since Solo was serviceable and Rise.
you
Oh,
see, so the
Explain
thing
why.
about there's the only reason, and this just probably out of the graciousness of my heart at this moment, the only reason
Disney appreciates it.
Rise is a little bit up is because I do not I'm okay with the characters. Like I was not. You still have characters you started loving and started like you wanted to see where they were going, and even though it was not well executed, and we will definitely talk about this later, I still love Papa Palpatine. Like Palpatine is just an amazing.
I do. Yeah,
Like
I do.
Like
Yep, I agree with this. This is going to be a
it-
topic that are we
yes,
okay
yes.
with Palpatine coming back or not? But there is
Exactly.
something I love about Palpatine.
Exactly.
It was just
There's
badly
something.
executed, but I was okay with him coming back. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have
Yeah.
this whole movie that's horribly executed, but has so much potential.
Yeah.
Solo had no potential to me. Like it was just like, oh, let's just do a backstory. But the Rise still has a lot of potential, and it's
So did Solo, actually. Like I think that Solo could have been like a good movie.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't really want to see anybody playing Solo aside from Harrison Ford. Like I don't care. I really don't care about his background because what's cool about Solo is his transformation starting from A New Hope and going forward, because he was still a space pirate when he starts, and that's when you see his actual transition. I don't really care about what he was doing before.
I mean, I disagree a little bit because I think it would have been really, and which is what I expected and wanted from like Solo, was like the opposite of what they gave us in a way. Because like when they showed us the Kessel Run, I was like, oh come on, man! It's just like, and we'll get to that in an episode, but like
the Kessel Run was.
We'll get to that like in that episode when we'll talk about Solo. But for me, like Solo was just like greatest hits compilation. Hey, remember his vest? Oh, he's wearing it now. Remember the blaster?
Yeah.
Here's how he got it. You know Chewbacca? Here's how he met him.
Yeah.
It's like,
remember the Kessel Run? Here's when it
here's how he did
happened.
it. Instead of being like, so which
new things about Han Solo that we didn't know.
But for me, the disappointing things about the movie by doing that was just like, yeah, everything that's cool about Han Solo. Oh, remember the thermal detonator thing? Yeah, he did it here too. It's like, well, everything was a greatest hits compilation in one movie. It's like, so Solo did everything that he's famous for in his first adventure. So it's just like, so then he was just bumming around for the rest of his life. I thought Solo would have been like a cool movie. It had been like what they implied at the beginning. And he's at Corellia, at the shipyards. He's just like a scum rat coming along.
And he actually has to...
And he joins the Empire. I think that's what should have been the movie. Like him as, the scum rat in Corellia and the shipyards, going into the Empire and defecting. That is something that I would have thought was cool about Solo to see, because that's something that we never heard of. I mean, we did in the expanded universe, but I mean, like in current canon, we had never heard of, we had never seen, and actually makes him a compelling character. Instead of being like, oh, well, here's the things you heard of, now you get to see him.
You see, I think Solo would have been a great movie without Solo. If you take out the Han Solo story, but like, and then focus on everything around.
I mean, I agree. Because Kira and Lando are way more interesting.
I would love to see a Lando movie. I would love to see a Kira movie. Like they could have done those perfectly without throwing in a Solo. Like, as Nani said, like the thing about Han Solo is that he just comes into A New Hope and it's already a developed character in its own sense. You don't need a backstory. But a backstory about Lando, a backstory about Kira, a backstory about what's it called again?
This is what
Mezcal.
happens.
This is what happens when you're having drinks.
And when you drink
Yep,
mezcal,
this is what happens when we're drinking
especially when
and
you're
talking
drinking
about
mezcal.
Star Wars continually.
At least we haven't
There-
switched to Spanish yet, so that's good for.
Oh yeah, we've been pretty good about that.
We have. We've
We have been
good
pretty good
efforts.
about that.
We haven't started setting Star Wars, but soon enough.
Soon enough.
Star Wars. That's the only way to say it.
Red Dawn, is it? Red. What's the name of
The Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Crimson
You see,
Dawn.
So like all of those
I got
things seem like really cool stories to actually develop and look forward to. You just don't have to add Solo into it. And I think that's what Rogue One did really well. You didn't have to introduce new characters. I mean, old characters. You have brand new characters and brand new storylines that complement the original mythology. Like, we don't need to know, right? We don't have to have fan service on the Solo and how he became Solo. I don't know. That's why Rise tops Solo in that sense for me.
Interesting. How about you, Nani? What's your bottom three, starting from the bottom? Number 11. Surprise, surprise.
My last one is Solo.
Oh, that is a surprise. All right.
That is a
I was
surprise.
expecting a second.
My bottom one is Solo. No, my bottom one is Solo, and then Attack of the Clones. And then I have Revenge of the Sith.
Why Solo under attack? I'm surprised. I thought you were a fervent attack hater.
I am a fervent attack hater, but Solo was just everything that I've said about it right now. I mean, Solo I didn't need it. I didn't want it. I admit it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's still, I mean, at least Attack of the Clones furthered the story a little bit. Solo did nothing to the story whatsoever, you know?
And why Revenge of the Sith so low?
Yeah,
I'm surprised there.
I actually hate Revenge of the Sith.
What?
Too. Yeah.
Whoa.
I have a very bad relationship with the prequels. And honestly, Revenge of the Sith it simplifies the transition of Anakin to a Sith so much. I mean, he's so this gung-ho character for the longest time, and then in one scene, you have him kneeling to Palpatine. It's like, oh, Darth Vader, yay! It was so anticlimactic and upsetting. I mean, the only scene I ever believe him being Darth Vader is when he's walking up the steps to kill the younglings. That is the only time in the entire trilogy. Fine. Yeah, because nobody knows. Come on. Everybody listen to this.
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do?
That is the only time in the entire trilogy that I believe him to be Darth Vader, when he's walking up those steps. Everything is just, it looks so orchestrated. I hate the fact that Yoda just falls. I mean, from fighting Palpatine, that fight with Palpatine is crap. Come on.
No, but that makes...
He hangs on with his nails and then just falls, and it's like, okay, I'm
But it makes sense, because that's the setup that they have that pays off in Return of the Jedi. Because remember, in Return of the Jedi, before Luke goes to confront the Emperor, and Yoda, before dying, tells him, like, do not underestimate the powers of the Emperor. So that's basically him being like, hey, bro, I thought I was hot shit because I'm the Grandmaster, so I'm gonna take this guy down single-handedly. I'm overconfident because I'm gonna, do this, and it's gonna be easy because I'm fucking Yoda, and then he gets his ass handed back to him.
But it comes through in the actual fight. Yes, I understand that. But it doesn't come through in the fight. You don't really feel that from the fight.
I'll give you the
Yoda fights to begin with. Because Yoda should not be jumping around like a little monkey.
Should not. That's true.
Yeah, he
should have been doing
what
Palpatine was doing. Using the Force to throw shit and like whatnot, be more mystical about his fighting style.
Which Luke did in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Agreed. So, and then I
but
actually
Nani,
hate.
I wonder.
Mhm.
I was gonna say I wonder if after you watch Clone Wars, if your perspective on Revenge of the Sith will change. Because I think
Oh, after I watched the
you're right.
development of
Yeah,
Anakin, yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
By itself, you don't see that transition from how come Anakin becomes Vader, but with the added backstory that Clone Wars brings.
And I understand
That's
that, and
when
that's
you
a reason that I
actually
do. Yeah, I know, and it's a reason I do want to watch it. But take into consideration that all of that was added to fill the hole that was missing.
Which is something that I will agree with Nani there. It's like you do not need to have supplemental material to complement things that you failed to show in your movie.
The Clone Wars exists because the prequels failed. Basically,
I wouldn't go that far. They dipped into an opportunity. I mean, I think they were something George Lucas wanted to do, and I think they kind of double dipped to be like, okay, well, this is an opportunity to kind of help flesh out these things.
It makes sense, and it is. I do want to watch the Clone Wars because I do want to know what happens in between. I just can't get into the animation, but now I will. But
you made a promise.
You made a promise to our listeners.
I did make the promise. All three of
them. Yeah.
But I feel like the movies should have done that. That's what we wanted from the prequels. We wanted to know how Anakin became Darth Vader, and we don't really get that from the movies. We get he hates Sam, and they kidnap his mom, and he has to kill people.
But that was more of a. I think that was like all the ideas were there. The problem was like again, like we talked a million times. It was the execution because George Lucas one is a terrible director and a terrible script writer. So it's kind of like he has good ideas and good story development, but that is something that we will get into in a different episode. But I will go ahead and go with my bottom three to kind of get this going because I don't think we want to keep going for too long. I think we've gone on for a little over an hour.
For a while already.
I don't want to bore anyone here. But my bottom three kind of aligns with Moe a little bit, except that our 9 and 10 are switched. My bottom is Attack of the Clones. I don't think I need to get into any more reasons.
Why?
Why? Because we went into like a deep dive there, even though we'll get into an even deeper dive in the future. But number 10 is The Rise of Skywalker. That was a movie that, oh my God. I don't want to get into it because that's a whole other episode too.
Rise of Skywalker is going to be one episode.
But one of the reasons that it's on the bottom is something that Moe said that kind of ties into why it's on the bottom is that like because it was a movie that was filled with such potential and good characters and it just squandered them in such a epic way. That's why I have to kind of drop it because it's I don't know. It just makes me angry. It's just like I see it and like as opposed to Solo, where it's just like an average movie.
Does it make you saltier than crazy?
Well, exactly. Solo doesn't make me saltier. It's just like it's totally serviceable. It's fine. It's average. So that's why I have to put it above Rise of Skywalker because Rise of Skywalker is just like such a misfire of epic proportions in like every single
especially
way.
After everything that Last Jedi did for the franchise, and then it's followed by
which is such a weird thing. The guy that gave us The Force Awakens gave us The Rise of Skywalker.
I know, but that's a whole theme to explore.
That is cool, and we have an episode on that, so stay tuned. So now we are going into like a bigger dive, I guess, because it's going to be the middle, and after this, I think we're going to wrap it up for this episode. But let's go with like our 5 mid-tier films. Let's start again with Mo. So we go bottom up or top down?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll do top down just to keep it a little bit diverse. So I guess my number 4 will be, since I gave the spot to Rogue One, has to be A New Hope. There's nothing much to add to that. It's a great movie in all its levels. The only reason I bumped it down was because of the emotional impact that Rogue One brought. For number 5, I'm gonna bring one of the prequels, and it's gonna be probably an interesting one. It's gonna be the Phantom Menace.
Wow.
In the sense that you have one of the greatest Jedi masters ever, Qui-Gon Jinn. You have the best quote in the whole Star Wars film.
Let me try to guess it. Yeah, your focus determines your reality.
Go for it. There you go. That's it. Your focus determines your reality. That is so true in so many levels. And it has been a guiding post for my development. So I have to give it to Phantom Menace. It's a fun movie. It has a bunch. You get Jar Jar, you get baby Anakin,
you get midi-chlorians.
There's no chemistry again between Anakin. You get midi-chlorians, but it's still in its own way a great movie. And I love the Naboo ships.
That's true.
They are just
the Naboo ships are amazing. Actually, Naboo in general is beautiful. All of Naboo was gorgeous.
Naboo is just gorgeous.
Definitely a top 5 planet. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Naboo is just gorgeous.
Absolutely.
In its entirety. I still can't believe I said Mace Windu instead of Qui-Gon Jinn for the
because
final battle.
They're totally.
I mentioned it again. I know.
Totally
but shut up. Really?
Yeah.
But that lightsaber fight is actually amazing. One of the more disappointing facts is the underuse of Darth Maul. You could have definitely used Darth Maul.
Well, if you watch the Clone Wars, though.
I'm talking about the movie.
No, but at the same time, it also mirrors A New Hope's Vader. Like, you don't see Vader that often. Yeah, you actually feel the Vader's presence through the whole movie, and vice versa. You feel Maul's presence since the beginning in Phantom Menace.
Good point.
And you have
Oh, I
was just gonna say, and then you have this shadowy, pulpy figure just rising, and that just makes it that adds so much to it. But yes, go ahead, Gus.
No, what I was gonna say was that and I don't remember if this was like a Filoni thing or a fan thing. I honestly can't remember. But I had seen this analysis of the villains of the prequel trilogy and why George Lucas decided to have 3 different ones instead of an overarching one. Again, I don't know if this was a fan thing or actual confirmation of actual intention on George Lucas's part, but each of the villains of each of the movies of the prequel trilogy are supposed to represent one part of Anakin's turn to the dark side, where Grievous is the mechanical embodiment of evil that Anakin will ultimately become. And Dooku is the old disenfranchised Jedi that leaves the order, Anakin obviously becomes, and then Maul that rage that Anakin also evolves. So there are 3 parts of Vader just separated into those 3 films, which again is one of those things that I think are super cool when you talk about them, but it's just oh, maybe you should have executed that a little bit more.
Which is actually very interesting.
Or at least the question, was that ever the intention, or are we as fans extrapolating?
Looking deeper into it than it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's the cool thing, though.
Oh, that's an amazing thing about Star Wars. You don't know if it was an intentional thing but doesn't matter, because again, your focus determines your reality.
And it's the point of it's the point of art and film in general. It's just once the director / artist puts it out into the world, it stops being his, and we can start giving meaning into it.
Any interpretation that you want.
So it's all those things, he might not have intended for them to be there, but I think the mythology just becomes richer by people adding those interpretations to it.
Yep. So
but
then
that was your number 5. What is number 6?
Number 5. Number 6 is, I'm gonna say, I guess almost right in the middle, The Force Awakens. I think it's a great mirror to A New Hope. We get a whole bunch of characters. Yes, it is exactly A New Hope.
Yeah.
But
we needed it.
And we needed it.
We kind of needed it. After the prequels, we needed it.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
have to say that.
And you get the foundations for where eventually the characters might lead to, which is unfortunate because this is where Rise really failed. It didn't deliver on what The Force Awakens started, and then The Last Jedi, for some, might have improved, or for some, it might have degraded. But
Well,
that's
Rise of Skywalker was a sequel to The Force Awakens and not The Last Jedi. That was the problem.
fact. That is a problem. Yes. Then as number 7, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Revenge of the Sith. I just,
Okay.
it might have its bad things, but at the end of the day, you see, it goes back to the love I have for Palpatine. That's the story I like the most. You see the transformation.
What is the best scene of Revenge of the Sith?
Ooh, the best thing I'm gonna have to say
There's only one right answer.
To me, it's just the Plagueis story with Poppy.
I mean, that's good. But for me, it's that scene when like Poppy is just like rising up in the Senate, and he's like, "The Senate will be reorganized. The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire." And then like Padme says
that
that
is
scene,
how
liberty
democracy dies.
Liberty. I got that wrong in I got that wrong in a trivia, and I will never forget.
It's liberty. This is how liberty dies.
Thunderous applause.
With thunderous applause.
That was good. I got chills. I still get chills.
I still get, yeah. It is so.
There's
because
good
that is
themes.
actually
It's just very badly executed, and I don't really blame the actors. I mean, I haven't seen Hayden Christensen in many things, so I can't really judge him as an actor. But I love her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like,
she's an amazing actress, and she came out so flat in these movies because the writing was just not there.
She can only do so much.
Compared to to Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones was worse, yeah.
Clone of the Wars.
Well, this is what happens. We've been drinking for a while, and we've been talking for way longer than we should be at this point, I think.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I'm gonna wrap it up.
Well, that's good because we're having lively conversation.
Yes. 7. I already said my 8 is Return of the Jedi. It was a great movie when I was a kid. It just was fantastic. But now every time I see it, I even get sleepy halfway through. Like, it's just like it's almost like once it gets to the whole Endor part, it's like I lose track of it. Yeah, I'm done with it. Like,
yeah, it's like I'm done.
Although it does still have the best space battle in all of the movies.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it does.
When you first watch it, it's just mind blowing. Like, it's like,
and
holy
the
crap.
Beginning, still, the first time you see Luke wearing the black suit and using the Force completely and owning that he's a Jedi for the first time. I mean, the beginning is still one of the best beginnings to a movie. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. The problem is it just drops off and gets boring at some point, and the Ewoks were super cute when you were a kid, but then when you grow up, you're like, those little things are just destroying.
Hey, if they have been Wookiees, it would have been completely different.
Yeah. But then you have the tiny Ewoks just throwing rocks at stormtroopers, and they're dying from a slingshot. I mean, it just becomes like a children's story.
Although that scene when the little Ewoks get shot by the AT-ST and like
and he dies and the other one tries to wake him up, I still cry at that. I'm pretty sure I still cry at that one.
That's a tough one.
That one still hurts. It still hurts. Yeah. And I will agree on that.
Yeah, it really hurts. It
hurts.
That one thing that the first time I saw it and every time I see it, the ending, it's just emotional. Like, just seeing that Vader just taking off the mask.
The fire.
Yeah.
And it's emotional on so many levels because you have the celebration from everybody that's been oppressed, but at the same time you have a very, very personal sadness that grows from Luke. Like, this is the end of my father. So it's still
which is a really good point that I mean, I had thought about it, but not as concretely now that you like mentioned it, especially now that I just did that parallel in my mind, which is like, and it ties into The Last Jedi, which is like Luke's story isn't like a happy story. Luke's story is
Not at all.
tragic through and through. And that's why like I really appreciate The Last Jedi, because even though people are like, well, Luke goes off and now he's a master Jedi, he defeated the dark side, he's uber powered, he's a he's a character in a video game, and he's achieved all these things and he has kids and now he should be happy and destroys all the empires. Like, no, Luke is a tragic character. He's lost basically everyone that means something in his life, and his whole life has been defined kind of by loss, and like victory comes at a loss. And that's one of the things that like I parallel to now that Mo had mentioned that with kind of Lord of the Rings, and that point when like Frodo and Sam return to the Shire and things aren't
They
the same.
can't live
It's like,
normal lives because
it's like, well, like everything around them is happy because the world is better because they destroyed Sauron, but they went through some such hardships and darkness that the world just isn't the same for them. And like Frodo realizes that like he literally says that like it's not the same. It's like, and I have to leave and like go somewhere else because I can't find happiness here anymore in my comfort zone, so to speak. And he has to go to the Undying Lands, and that's kind of what Luke did. He he tried to find some happiness and purpose into,
which makes it even sadder when he tries to train his nephew and see the future of,
and fails again.
And fails at it because he's afraid of him.
And then he says it, and he's not wrong. He says like the legacy of the Jedi is failure.
Which is what's so amazing about The Last Jedi. There's so much catharsis to so many stories, and
which is great. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of people, and this is like sidestepping a little, even though we'll talk about The Last Jedi in a future episode, so please tune in. But it's that I think a lot of people that like don't like Luke's development in The Last Jedi are, and I could be wrong, obviously, but this is my opinion, so you have to listen to it. It's like all the people that like grew up with Luke, having seen Return of the Jedi growing up, and now being older or closer to like Mark Hamill's age or Luke's age, I guess. And it's just like seeing like that idealized version of the hero and how the hero kind of plateaus into this, level of quote unquote perfection. And they don't want to see that kind of tarnished because they see themselves instead as like a person to achieve towards, and kind of to see that person as someone that aged the same way they did, and like also have trials and tribulations even after achieving greatness and being broken down. Is kind of like heartbreaking, I guess. It's like, oh wait, this person is supposed to be better than he was and better than I am. I don't know. I think there's a lot of like projection onto Luke that like makes people angry, because it's like at the end of the day, Luke's just like a guy. Yeah, he can use the Force, but he's a guy. And like,
but that was actually one of my favorite things, the development of his character, how it all comes to an end. I thought how they did Luke was fantastic. I think it was almost perfect how they did everything.
I totally agree with that.
Especially how
I cry like an idiot when you see him floating and then you don't see him and just his cape flowing away.
Oh, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like that whole scene, like
it's amazing. It's like he transcends, and the whole scene when he confronts Kylo Ren, just like
absolutely. But like
it's amazing. There's honestly so many things about The Last Jedi that I love.
No, that like obviously I was a fanboy of not wanting Luke to die. But like that whole,
I know, but it was
perfect.
It was done so well.
Especially how he died when it's like sun. It's like the sun is setting in October, and he, like the last
floating.
The last thing he
floating.
No, but like the last thing he sees is like he has a sense of peace because you can see his face where he's like, at peace with what he did. And the last thing he sees is a twin sun setting in the horizon.
Yeah.
The same sun that he was looking at before. He set into like his adventures. It's like, whoa, like, oh man.
It is the perfect conclusion to
his story.
That Campbell's hero's journey. Like once you go through that unconscious aspect of yourself, you never come out the same. Like it's inevitable because you see both the light and the dark. You have to embody both And that's the beauty of like why he had to become a hermit. He disconnected from the Force.
Yeah.
And then his final act is based on complete compassion. His final life act is just, I'm gonna come back because I have so much compassion that it doesn't matter how much I've suffered. I will find peace in through that, and that's just beautiful.
But it's also the same thing he does in Return of the Jedi. He was fighting blade to blade against Vader until the end, where he's like, he tells the Emperor, it's like, I'm not gonna fight anymore, and that's how he wins by not fighting. So this is just an extension of what Luke's character is,
which is so perfect because it's the logical and emotional and just way to do Luke's story.
Yeah.
I don't understand why a lot of people didn't understand it, but it was great. And then when he has that conversation with Yoda, obviously as well, when it's like Yoda be like, you never got the point, did you?
The greatest teacher. Well, but that's the point. Like Yoda didn't get that point either while he was living. So Yoda also went through some growth.
I know.
The greatest teacher there is.
And it's so good.
But Nani, what is your top mid movies in our list? Your top middle movies here in our list.
Oh, the middle movies. Okay, I have to look at my list again. We should start wrapping up. I think we've been talking for a while. We're going to start annoying people. We're definitely going to start annoying people. I'm pretty sure we talked about all of them at this point.
We have, but let's just see like where they're at.
But let's go. Okay. Were we going bottom up?
Top down.
Top down. Okay.
At number 4.
Give me a second. I got all involved in the conversation. I'm sorry.
No, that was good.
As 4, I have Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
5, I have The Force Awakens.
Yep. Oh, same one. Awesome.
6, I have Rogue One.
Interesting. Okay.
7, I have Rise of Skywalker.
That's really high.
Wow. That's.
Yep. And then 8, Phantom Menace. And then the rest of the prequels and Solo at the end.
Interesting. Well, I'm just going to go ahead with my middle film since we've kind of discussed these ad nauseum, I guess. So my number 4 is Rogue One.
Okay.
Number 5. Number 5 is The Force Awakens. Number 6, Revenge of the Sith. Which I am kind of ambivalent on the results of this quiz, because like I would have had it a little tied with my number 7 because I think there's more filmic, so to speak, merit to Phantom Menace over Revenge of the Sith. But I think like Revenge of the Sith did such a good job at like tying the prequels together with the original trilogy that I just had to like bump it up, I guess. But then that leads into my number 7, which is The Phantom Menace, and then number 8, Return of the Jedi, for reasons that we have previously discussed.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think even though we have like some discrepancies there in the middle, as Mo pointed out, that we were bound to have, I think it's pretty consistent though. And
I think you disagree with me the most that I have to Rise of Skywalker. I think higher than most of you guys.
I just have some very passionate views, and we'll get into it. So like and subscribe.
We will get
about
into
the
Rise.
Of Skywalker.
And I think with that, we should probably say goodbye because we've been going for a while.
Yeah,
it has been really fun.
It has been good. It was more productive than like I was hoping for, even though I knew it was going to be productive, but more so. And I appreciate that we didn't go into as many tangents than I thought we would. So I think we still
went into a few,
which is good. I think it's good to go sideways sometimes to discuss the things that we disagree on, which is the point of this. And like our next episodes, hopefully it'll be more straightforward, since like the topics will be more focused on some things instead of like this one that was a little more, open for debate, since we're talking about so many things.
Well, we had to. You have to get the rankings straight off. We have to get why we even care about Star Wars to begin with.
Yeah, everyone does it, so let's just do it and fuck it. It's like,
yep. And everybody has very strong opinions about all of it. So I think we have been very cordial as well.
Yeah, we weren't as offensive
think
as I thought we were gonna be.
We've been pretty nice.
One of the last things that I wanted to mention before we sign out was next week. Well, obviously we'll record a new episode next week, but before that, we're going to be appearing on Radio Rebellion on Saturday, August the 29th. We'll be talking a little bit about DC fandom, and like some of the things we think Star Wars could learn from that virtual event to apply to a potential Star Wars celebration if they were to have a virtual one. So stick around and like tune in to Radio Rebellion to listen to us there talk. But that's it for today's episode. Hopefully you guys fucking enjoyed it and like what we have to say, and hopefully tune in for more because we have some fun stuff that we want to discuss with everybody. Like and subscribe, leave us a comment, rate, do everything. Follow us on Twitter at Triad Of The Force, and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or whatever the fuck that's called.
Anywhere and everywhere you find us.
We'll be around.
We'll be around.
Gus and Nani,
Thank you, everybody, and we're
Take care.
signing
It was
out.
amazing, guys. Love you. Buenas noches.
Love